Prince Seren takes me past the garden forecourt into a sumptuously appointed antechamber within one of the palace wings. I hope you will forgive poor Hagen. He is new to his job and clearly requires a great deal more, manners, self-preservation, intelligence, pedigree? Polish? Just so, polish. Here's to hoping poor Hagen gains it quickly. And before he challenges another Rosencreutz or some nobility that are less gracious about letting him walk after crossing them. I'm afraid I must now take my leave. There are preparations I have to make for the state dinner, so the palace staff will attend to all your needs from this point on today. Thank you so much for helping me, Your Highness. It was my pleasure. He nods politely and leaves the antechamber. The moment he steps outside, a dozen maidservants and butlers stream into the room, as if summoned out of thin air. Truly, my thanks for your assistance cannot be fully articulated into words, Seren. I aim the thought of gratitude after the good prince, as a pretty maid in a frilly dress leads me gently by the arm to what she assures me will be the fanciest bath I have ever seen in my life. The remainder of the afternoon passes in an indistinct blur. I am conducted into a luxurious bath of scented soap and multicolored bubbles, where I, at last, wash off the ashes and blood in steaming hot water. When I step out of the bath, my clothes are neatly laid on a bed, crisp and clean next to a large white towel still warm with the sun. A maidservant enters the chamber the moment I finish dressing, carrying a tray laden with pastries, fruits, and piping hot tea. Damn, this is the fucking life. I want to be an alchemist tutor. As I sit on a fur-lined couch nibbling a buttery scone and savouring the rich herbal aroma left by the scalding tea, the nightmarish events of the previous night seem to disappear. But the respite does not last long. Of course it doesn't. A somber butler in an immaculate black suit soon glides into the room and announces in a funereal tone that this evening's state dinner in honor of the High Council is about to begin. I have to go to that? Alright. Hey, Regent. Friends, countrymen, and honoured guests, before we begin tonight's state dinner, there is an announcement I wish to make on behalf of the Regency Council. The Lord Regent, the late King's younger brother, appears to be a subdued-looking gentleman with greying hair and a tired voice. He speaks, standing next to the empty throne, and his voice is barely audible over the chattering crowd of Eskian citizens milling about the throne room. After much deliberation, the Regency Council has decided upon a candidate to be the realm's royal tutor for the Free Princess. What up, it's me! At these words, the chatter between those in attendance quickly increases in volume. I see glances dart my way, not all of them friendly. She is the scion of the ancient and noble House of Rosencreutz, an accomplished practitioner in the art of magic, and a foremost member in the High Council's most worthy order of obscure nobodies. Useless upstart potion makers. Leave magic to the mages, alchemist. A storm of harsh laughter and scorn bursts from the nobles. My jaws clench and I dig my nails into the palm of my hands. Dare they? Order! Order! Thankfully, the disruption does not last long. The blatant contempt is hardly partaken in by anyone aside from the nobles. Representatives from the Eskian Circle of Mages, which should be eager to participate in the outrage after having their colleagues in the High Council appoint me in their stead, are looking at me sympathetically. I sincerely urge our peers in this palace to conduct themselves with the dignity befitting their high station. The clamour dies down, but the lacklustre sentiment by the aristocracy kept an unfortunate stronghold on the atmosphere of the room. Nobles are pricks. As I was saying, we in the Regency Council have determined... While the Lord Regent drones on, I start to survey the room, trying to decipher the lay of the political landscape. The nobility presents an almost uniformly hostile obstacle to my new duties. High up the balustrade... There are a lot of words I just don't know, never seen before in my life even. The high nobles look down on me, cold and implacable. They do not shout or jeer. They do not need to. Below them, their vassals, the minor barons and counts, are all too eager to bark at their master's bidding. The mages are divided. Half of them regard me with undisguised disapproval as an interloper encroaching on their traditional area of prerogative. Which, in all fairness, I suppose I am. The other half observed me with detached curiosity, as though I were a new, potentially interesting specimen of mouse about to be experimented on. The few alchemists in the hall, from whom I expected expressions of support, offer none. Hemmed in between the nobles and the mages, they make a self-effacing group trying not to be noticed. A few of them smile at me, more out of pity than encouragement. Being young and high-spirited, the princes should be governed by a temperate and moderating influence, the more in the instruction of an art as subtle and perilous as that of magic. The princes. I wonder how they're doing. Trying to keep myself from yawning, I cast my eyes about the room for the 3 young men I met earlier today. Prince Seren is standing at full attention immediately to the right of the throne, with hands clasped behind his back, his face a mask of dutiful attention. Next to him, Prince Nazir slouches against a pillar. He catches my eyes and offers a lazy wink. The gesture prompts me to smile in acknowledgement in reply. The idea to survey the room must have occurred to Prince Aurelius as well. He is scanning the great hall from one end to another, brows creased in a slight frown. Our gazes meet. He stares keenly at my face for a moment before his eyes flicker away, quite impersonally, to the person next to me. Let us therefore wish the new royal tutor every success in guiding their highnesses, the Prince of Eskia, on the path of wisdom and virtue. May they flourish under her guidance. It sounds like the Lord Regent's address is winding down at last. To Valky of Rosenkreuz, our tutor to the princes. For a second, absolute silence reigns. I feel my cheeks flush. A ringing noise fills my ears. Then, hear, hear! Prince Nazir shouts cheerfully as he claps, which echoes through the cavernous room. Prince Seren joins him the briefest instant later, adding his applause to his brothers. Then Prince Aurelius too is clapping, and soon so is everyone else in the throne room, with every display of enthusiasm. Nobody wishes to be seen holding back, or worse, jeering, when their future sovereign, whoever he may be among the 3, is applauding. My lords and ladies, I formally declare the state dinner for this evening open. I am almost sure I hear a sigh of relief from the Lord Regent as he steps down from the podium. At the far end of the throne room, trains of servants bring out silver platters piled high with steaming and aromatic delicacies. What delicacies is what I want to know. With great eagerness, the assembly of nobility breaks into little groups, shuffling their way to the buffet table. I pause, wondering with whom I should speak to over dinner. Who are we going for? Let's just go for a dude and stick to it, right? I think Aurelius is very interesting. Like, he seems like the grouchy type who will be fun to make blush in the future. And Nazir is the one that bores me the most, if I'm completely honest. I don't like the playboy character very much. It was done well in like one thing I played, which was Amnesia. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. I've played it so many times, but yeah, his was done well because of just the nature of his story. And that was the only time I ever liked it, so I don't think this is going to win me over. So we're gonna go for Seren, because Seren, that kind of type also is kind of cool. The like, I have to be proper all the time, but love is not proper, so it's interesting. Let's go Prince Seren. Prince Seren is surrounded by a clique of high nobles. I was about to look for someone else, but to my surprise, we lock eyes, and he flashes me a smile before gracefully excusing himself from the gathering around him. Good evening, Lady Rosenkreuz. To what do I owe the pleasure? I want to thank you again for saving me from that palace guard today. Not at all. I have no doubt that you would have been able to reason with Hagen without my interruption. The only reason I might have made Hagen see is the undesirability of being turned into a pile of ashes, but I keep this thought to myself. You were very observant to have noticed the petal markings on my neck. Anyone is capable of noticing things they know beforehand to look out for. I dabbled some in reading a little about the history of your lineage, you see. The ability to wield all 6 branches of magic is truly a most unique blessing. It is not altogether a blessing. I begin, then stop. Thankfully, Prince Seren seems preoccupied with his thoughts to have paid attention to what I said. Forgive me if I am being overly forward, Lady Rosencruz, but may I take a closer look at those markings? Ooh, I don't know about that. Seems a little pervy, sure. I nod. Discreetly, I unbutton the collar of my shirt and tug down the stiff, starched cloth. Prince Seren tilts his head ever so slightly as he takes a peek at my neck, while at the same time moving to position his body between myself and the crowd so that no one can see what we are doing. They're beautiful. Thanks. A single stutter of a reply barely manages to escape my breath. Even though the prince doesn't invade my personal space beyond looking, his penetrating gaze suddenly feels very intimate and my cheeks start to feel feverish. Within this proximity, I can make out a faint herbal fragrance. His scent differs greatly from something you would expect a noble to wear, but strangely its calming nature suits Prince Seren's gentle demeanor more than anything I could imagine. How much more stunning they must look when they are glowing. I'm super blushing. My thoughts snap back to reality, and before I even know how to respond, Prince Seren straightens his posture and takes a small step back. Thank you for showing them to me, Lady Rosencruz. It's okay. I button up the collar again, fighting to keep myself from blushing too obviously. I hate to break it to you, but you blushed really obviously. By the way, Lady Rosencruz is a little too formal, don't you think? You are older than me, after all. I would prefer it if you would call me Valky. But you are my tutor, and I ought to... I am your tutor, and as such, I am ordering you to call me by my given name. The prince looks taken aback for a moment, but a smile soon graces his lips. Very well, I shall try to get used to doing just that Valky. He straightens up and motions towards the group of nobles he had left. Pardon me, Valky, but duty obliges me to reconvene with my peers for the rest of the evening. This is likely the last time I will be able to meet you tonight. Would you mind? Of course not. I suppose I'll see you around? Smooth, Valky, smooth. Not like you hadn't just established you were his tutor or anything only moments ago. I certainly hope so. I can usually be found in the palace library if ever you happen to desire my company. Okay, gotta put that in the old mind bank. With another faint smile and a courtly bow, Prince Seren takes his leave and makes his way back to the gathering of nobles. Ooh, Grimwatch character updated. Ooh. Oh, he's 20. He's 19. He's 19. How are you both 19? Magic affinity. Wood and light. Wood. You a druid? Oh. His thingy went up a little bit. Cool. Alright, he likes us a tiny amount. He enjoys reading and knows quite a bit about my family's history. Most of the time, Prince Seren can be found in the palace's library. Okay, we don't need to put it in the mind bank. We've got it right there. Cool. I take my leave from the state dinner as soon as it is polite to do so. I haven't had a wink of sleep since the night before last, and the effects are starting to take their toll on me. By the time I reach my room, my eyes feel incredibly dry from me trying to keep them open. I pry my clothes off and change into a nightgown, finally collapsing onto my bed. Without missing a beat, darkness engulfs me. Gonna have bad dreams? Lotus? Oh. The rich but calming aroma of lotus flowers pervades the room. I groan as I push myself upright, blinking through the cobwebs of sleep. A slim hand places a steaming cup of tea onto the end table beside me. I take a sip, savoring the slightly bitter aftertaste. Thanks. I am happy to be of service, Lady Rosencruz. Who are you? I look up to see a demure-looking young woman standing next to the bed. She has a quiet, attractive face framed by long silver hair. Pretty. Do you have a route? Well, apparently every other route you can get onto is a friend route, so that's depressing. Her ears are long and pointed like knives. I half-consciously touch my own ear and ask, Beg your pardon, but are you a homunculus? I am. She dips into a graceful curtsy. What's wrong with my mouth today? Being magical creatures shaped from all 6 elements of magic, homunculi are very rare even within the High Council. My father, the Council's most skillful alchemist, had once tried to make a homunculus. He called him Tobermory, a sleek and grey, indistinguishable from a kitten apart from the fact that he speaks in human tongues. That alone had taken all his attention and energy for an entire year. To my sincere amazement, she is the first The first, human-shaped homunculus I have ever seen, demurely shaped and with a soothing, gentle, magical aura around her. The sheer amount of craft and power needed to create must have been immense. I didn't know that Eskia has an alchemist adept enough to create homunculi. The young woman smiles, but does not reply. I decide to try another approach. So, what's your name? I am Sala, my lady. The regent assigned me to be your personal servant. My lips quirk up into a smile. Back at home on our fief? I don't know what that is, sorry. My parents had hired many servants and guards, but they never allowed us, their children, to have someone appointed to be our personal attendant. They had hoped that by doing so, we would be capable of taking care of ourselves without any added assistance. As that may be, I'm essentially alone in a distant country for the first time. And the prospect of having someone familiar with this environment is more welcome than I'm disposed to admit. Did the regent assign me any other servants I should know about? Yes, there is. Just then comes a knock on the door. A debonair man pushes it open and swaggers into the room. Lady Rosencruz, my apologies. I was held up by a measly bit of business with the treasury. And you are... Raphael, at your service, Lady Rosencruz. Sala and I will personally oversee that you are well taken care of. I can bathe and dress on my own. Sometimes I can even wake up on my own. I let out a grin along with my last jab. Raphael's gestures soften in response and a smile tugs at the corner of his lips. That's not something that can be taken for granted in the aristocracy of the capital, indeed. However, our services extend to more than just domestic assistance. You're not just my servants, you're my bodyguards as well. We can both protect you in times of danger. There will also be 4 guards to watch your chambers at all hours. Why? It would have been nice to have had them a day ago. But apart from that, Sala here is a beautician in her own right. Impressive. Sala smiles. If you ever feel the need to pretty yourself up a little, you can always spend an afternoon with me. Okay, I get it. So these are some of the options I'm gonna get to up my stats. What's that? Oop. I'll keep that in mind, Sala the beautician. That's what she said. So this, we go to her for that. Etiquette, maybe we go to Raphael for that. I am a courtier who has been in the service of the king for a long, long time. I know all there is to know about the etiquette, there you go, and protocols of the Eskian court. Lucky for me, considering I don't know anything about that at all. I shall be delighted to teach them to you. When you want a lesson on our court customs and traditions, please come find me. Raphael the courtier, I'll remember. And then there's Garion. Garion, is he another servant? Good heavens, no. Please don't let him hear you say that. Marshal Garion commands the palace guards and was a close confidant of the late king. He's the one in charge of training new recruits and can usually be found bustling about the parade grounds. Be that as it may, he also offers to train members of the royal household, and this now includes you, so this is combat skill? I give a casual flick of my wrist. I am more used to fighting with magic, or should I say alchemy items. Of course, and the training ground can offer you opportunities to training in magical combat, but if you ever find the need for enhancing your physical prowess, he's the one you'll want to see. Let's take a little looky-loo. I have a lot of charisma already. I like how she comes here with no skills whatsoever. What is this? Intelligence. Use your head to fight your way through. Alright. Seems like I'm going to have a very busy week ahead. To top it all off, please don't forget about your daily lessons with the princes. Well, how could I forget? Have you already got a rough idea for this week's schedule? If you tell us, we can help you plan out your activities accordingly. Sure, let's see, for this week, I think, and here we go. Here we go, we're gonna have to plan out a week or something. I don't know what these are. He's the younger brother of the late king and the temporary ruler of the kingdom. My personal servant. She's quiet and doesn't talk much unless asked. I wonder who created her. He's a courtier who's been in the service of the late king for a long time and takes care of the treasury business nowadays. Additionally, he's been assigned to be my personal servant. Poor lad. There's a lot of characters, actually. You can access the game's tutorials by pressing T. If you're unsure about the stats raising aspect of this game, check them out. Let's have a look. Alright, tutorial. At the beginning of each week, you can choose an activity to perform. Some activities will pass time and prompt the next week to start. Right, classes and missions. Pastime. Treasury and alchemy don't pass time? Okay, I get it. So, I don't know why I would ever need to know about the treasury, but these, having a class or doing a mission, they will pass the time, but doing something like, I don't know, again, I don't know what this is about, but this, creating an item for quest objectives, obviously that wouldn't take any time. Classes. These lectures raise the MC's stats. These lectures raise the prince's stats. I mean, I understand because I've played these kinds of games before, but I just don't want to get anything wrong. The princes have their own magic affinities. For starters, check the grimoire for information on which stats are most suitable to raise. Right. I want to raise the wood and light for Seren, right? Check the grimoire to see your current stats or just hover over the character portraits. Fine. Alchemy items may be required for missions and some events of the main story. Recipes will be unlocked as you go. At least one prince must meet all magical requirements. You need coins as well. If everything's ready, click synthesize. Crafting doesn't take time, so create as many items as you need. Missions are available side stories you can take on to experience more adventures with the princes while improving the Eskian economy. Right, so we can go on a mission, so it's like taking on a quest, and we go with the prince, and then we bring back money for the treasury, for us, essentially. The treasury gives you an overview on your current income. You can improve your income by successfully completing missions. Right. You will encounter various stat checks through the story. Success can improve relationships. Failure can result in death endings. Oh my god, why do I feel like I'm gonna just fail so much? In the long run, you won't be able to pass them all. Focus on the route you should pursue. If you pay attention, you may notice the princes have their own stat preferences. I don't know what that is. If you find yourself dying all over the place, consider toggling the stat bonus in the grimoire. Every unique death will make you stronger. That's fucking sweet. Alright. I don't know how to get out of this. Alright, so we can only schedule the class. So this is a time block. So I think we should improve etiquette for ourselves. Maybe do that like twice. And then we want light. Oh wait, this is for me. Oh, I get it. I get it. Jujubu. So this is for me. That's for Seren. So light, and he does wood as well. Let's do light wood. You, I cannot remember what you are. I'm so sorry. Fire and wind. Fire, wind. Alright, let's look at the total tsundere, which is Aurelius, I can already tell. Water and darkness, of course. Darkness. Water. Alright, start, I guess. +5, +2? Oh, that's fucking garbage. Weekly income is 65 coins. Okay, knock knock. Come in. I glance up from my studies as the door swings open. Please, pardon my intrusion. Hey, Seren. What up? Prince Seren makes a half bow in my direction with his trademark courtier smile. Your Highness, pray sit down. Thank you. Prince Seren closes the door after him and I catch a glimpse of several guards, not mine but likely his personal troop. Since arriving, I have yet to see the prince without any companions. I suppose it's understandable since the culprits behind his father's assassination were never found. Pulling out the chair across from me, he takes a seat. This prompts me to look around, suddenly realizing I don't have anything to offer him. Prince Seren must have been following my eyes, because he takes initiative to stop me when I am about to call on Sala or someone with the means to fetch her for me. Please, no need to trouble yourself. I look at him as I proceed to settle down again. He smiles at me warmly, showing no indication that it was a mere courtesy. I find myself unable to keep from smiling back. To what do I owe the pleasure, Your Highness? The Lord Regent would like me to ask you for more details about the mercenaries who ambushed you on your way to the capital. He was most disturbed by this unnerving and unforeseeable breach of security so near the heart of the kingdom, and to a person as important to us as you, of course. I am touched by his concern for my welfare. Would this be a convenient time for you, Lady Rosencruz? It's Valky, remember? Of course, I beg your pardon, Valky. I do happen to have some free time just now, so please ask away. Thank you. To the best of your knowledge, who knew about the details of your journey to Fostrax? No one outside the palace. Yes, we are investigating the possibility of an internal leak. In that case, the Lord President of the High Council and the Senior Alchemist. You've told no one of your appointment? Not a soul. Do you think they could have... I don't even have to think before shaking my head. Impossible. They won't tell anyone about what they had for breakfast, much less the affairs of their delegates. The members of the council have always been overly secretive. That was one of the reasons why I had to bear that with that rude palace guard in the first place. I see. In that case, what was the earliest forewarning you received of the ambush? My lips pursed and I closed my eyes, trying to recall more details of that night. On the road to Fostrax, I heard a loud explosion that came from somewhere within the forest. Then, the temperature around the carriage began growing warm. What do you think caused the explosion? Perhaps it was a way to remotely detonate the Phlogiston mines beneath the road, or maybe one of the caches was misplaced and exploded earlier than planned. However, due to the discoveries I found later in the forest, I know the mercenaries had not finished their work when my carriage came to the ambush site. They did not expect me to show up so early since I was supposed to spend the night in the village inn. They knew even about that. I nod. It was a coincidence and maybe just the right amount of luck. It was the only reason I managed to escape alive. At least that explosion gave you enough time to get away. Thanks to the captain of my escort, he recognized the situation for what it was immediately and warned me in the nick of time. If not for his prompt actions, I would have. I close my eyes and swallow, even though my throat is perfectly dry. The hellish vision of the inferno. The broiling, horrifying waves of heat. Worst of all, the piteous, charred people lying twisted and broken about the devastated remains of the carriage. Afterwards, the mercenaries came to examine their handiwork. I attacked them, hoping to take them by surprise. That was remarkably brave of you. Brave, perhaps, but more like remarkably reckless. I soon found myself overmatched and fled into the forest. Thankfully, I bumped into a crate of unused Phlogiston. Then, using myself as bait, I lured the remaining mercenaries to the crate before detonating it. And that was the end of that. I reopened my eyes. My hands, I noticed, are balled into fists, and I forced myself to unclench them. You were not able to take any of them alive. That's what scared me the most, Your Highness. After I defeated the mercenaries, when I tried to question them, they brutally killed themselves right in front of me. I'll never forget those empty, doll-like eyes. Are they homunculi? My God. For this reason, I suspect the person who employed them is somehow able to control their minds to an extent. That's disturbing, to say the least. I'm awfully sorry you had to go through that. Prince Seren's face turns a touch paler, filled with genuine concern and sorrow after I finish recounting my experience with the ambush. He sounds as though he is trying to comfort me, yet he looks as though he needs some comforting himself. Thank you for telling me the tale of your harrowing encounter. You have my word that the utmost precaution will be taken to ensure that this does not happen in the future. Let's save it. Wait, I can protect myself, man. I am a full-fledged alchemist, Your Highness, as well as a member of the High Council. You need not burden yourself with the security of my person. You will find I am more than capable of defending myself. I have every confidence you can, in a fair fight. But our enemies, whoever they may be, do not appear to have any intention of fighting fair. Even an archmage or a master swordsman is vulnerable to a poisonous adder hidden underneath their bedsheets. Or perchance a crate of phlogiston mined into the road their carriage is set to embark on. My lips pursed. The prince's father, I faintly recall, died in an ambush at the hands of mysterious assassins. As a king, I'm sure he must have been strong. An adept magic user, a master of the sword, and a person with overwhelming charisma. I give you my solemn oath. As long as you're close to me, I shall see that you're kept out of harm's way. I observe Prince Seren very closely while he speaks. His troubled look, though diminished, does not disappear entirely, and his eyes have a distant, faraway look that suggests he is thinking of something else even as he is discussing the ambush with me. Did the recounting of my assault bring back any unpleasant memories? Take a little gander at our friendship, shall we? How do we do that again? Well, if we don't go up a bit more, I'm gonna go back and do the other option. Before I can formulate my hypothesis into a suitably polite inquiry, Prince Seren abruptly steps back as if he somehow senses my intention to pry where I likely should not. I believe you have given me sufficient information so that I may make a report to the Lord Regent. Thank you for your time, Lady Rosencruz. I sigh, but decide not to force the issue again. Seems like it's going to be Lady Rosencruz for a little while longer. It was a pleasure, Your Highness. Good day. Prince Seren nods his head and goes to leave. He pauses when he reaches the door and turns back to face me. Your Highness? I would like to tell you I am very thankful you got away from the ambush unscathed. There is a soft undertone in his voice that makes me think he said those words out of more than mere etiquette. Thank you, Your Highness. Prince Seren nods again and silently closes the door behind him. Alright, but we are going to look at the characters' daily life. Okay, we are going to go back very quickly just to see what other way that goes. Load. Yes. Hey, play down the... So this is our etiquette up, which is probably good because I feel like he values etiquette. Aiming to reassure the prince, I muster a smile and look at him. For the first time, a series of raw and intense emotions resonate in his eyes. Please do not worry, Your Highness. The ambush probably sounds a lot worse than it actually was. As if seeing right through me, his brows incline and the creases of his smile droop slightly. Oh fuck, I think I chose the wrong bloody thing again. It's fine. I appreciate your concern on my behalf, but I assure you I am fully aware of how dangerous the situation was, and how violent it can unexpectedly become. My lips pursed. The prince must have suffered a great deal more, as I faintly recall, when his father was ambushed and died at the hands of mysterious assassins. I, at least, am still alive and free of any major injuries. I am unharmed. There is no need to be overly concerned about it. A single ambush, however limited in scope, carries significant implications for the safety of my subjects and the security of the kingdom. The king-to-be should never be shielded from the reality of his kingdom, no matter how unpleasant that reality can be. I'm not sure what kind of expression I must be wearing. The prince looks at me for a moment before leaning forwards and gently placing his hand on mine. Warmth spreads against my skin from the tips of his fingers, and I notice just then that my hand must have been cold to the touch. I give you my solemn oath. He's just giving him our solemn oath again. Our thing went up though. What? I'm so confused. Okay, fine, I guess. As long as you're close to me... Wait, what are my skip options? Skip options. None? I guess that was all the same after that. Okay. Right. Basically all the same here, and yeah, we will start the lectures and whatnot in the next video. Bye!